Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Mandy and I want to do a bloom on this 10-inch MDF using Anchors Aweigh from Sherwin-Williams as my pillow paint. I'm going to show you my colors as I go, and I sped this up significantly because my first attempt was a fail. So I'm just going to include it in hyperlapse. The second attempt isn't amazing, but it's better than the first one. My paints were really thick and hadn't been used in a while, so that was part of the problem. But this is Wild Plum from Colourarte, and I really wanted to use that color. All right, and that is Cypress from Holbein, and it was very thick, so I tried to thin it down with some Sonja. It's one of my favorite colors from Holbein, and it's way overpriced, but it's a beautiful color. It's sort of like Cobalt Turquoise, Cobalt teal with a splash of green, something like that. It's really pretty. So, you know what? That wasn't what I said it was. That was Northern Lights from Colourarte, and I had to thin it down. It's been mixed up a long time. And then I'm messing with the Cypress. So, anyway, sorry, I originally didn't intend for this to be a voiceover, but you know, you can't have a 50-minute long bloom video. It was a terrible painting day, let me just say. But I try to share fails with you and what I learn and all that jazz too. The colors are amazing anyway, so I did record another one after this with similar colors that was a little bit better, but not a lot. It was just not the greatest painting day. I probably should have been doing homework instead of painting, but whatever. All right, and that's Bashful Blue from Colourarte. It's a primary element in the Frosted Sorbet set. And this is Wild Plum, which is a color I found on the Master Color Library on Colourarte's website. And that is Cobalt Turquoise from Glidden. And then the last color I'm going to put down is a custom purple I made from Australian Red Violet from Matisse and Indanthrene Blue from Holbein. It's a beautiful purple. I love it so much. And then I'm going to use a white cell activator. So my cell activator was old and thick, so there was just a lot of things working against me. So I'm going to speed up the bloom, and then I'll show you the second one. All right, so I sped this way up. What I was trying to do was get better at tilting my head and turning sideways to broaden my bloom petals. Every time I watch Lisa Marvin, I'm like, I need to get better at that. But it just, yeah, I was trying to change too much at one time. Usually I try to kind of blow out the center a little bit first and then do it. But yeah. Now that I'm watching this doesn't look as bad as I thought it did last night, but I sure did scrape it. And then I went again, and I messed up the second blow too, but it wasn't quite as bad as this one. I did try to connect the edges just because I knew they were going to be so narrow. But the center on this one looks better than the next one. All right, take two. So I sped this up just for the sake of time. So I've got the Sherwin-Williams down. I hated to waste Sherwin-Williams paint. It's one thing to waste Oopsie paint. It's another to waste Sherwin-Williams. So that was a bummer. All right, so Northern Lights. Got that down first. And I don't remember if I did the Cypress or not. Apparently I did, just a little bit. Because again, part of my problem was that my paint consistencies were all different, and a lot of them were too thick, and it was really hard to blow. So Bashful Blue from Colourarte. Wild Plum from Colourarte, and just an amazing color. And Cobalt Turquoise, then my custom purple. Also, I have way too much paint down. So the reason I say this is not to be hypercritical of myself, but all of those things matter when you're doing blooms. So if you're using too much paint, if you're, your consistencies are off. So I'm telling you those things because it helps you diagnose when something goes wrong for yourself. There's also way too much pillow paint. So when I blow into this, it's going to create like paint canals and it messes up the structure. So all that stuff matters. So too much matters, too little matters, too thin matters, too thick matters. This is a technique where all of the things really matter. So when you get frustrated, just know that you're not the only one. So now I'm kind of going with what I know, which is broaden that circle a little bit and then go. But the problem is where I should be turning my head a little bit as I blow to extend the width of what's blowing. I'm not doing that, and that's what I want to try to get better at. You can see where I really messed up that one section. So, I mean, this was going better than the last one, but that's why I tried to change it up, is I want to get better at tilting my head sideways so that I can stretch out that blow a little bit. So there was too much cell activator here. So you'll notice as this develops that the center gets kind of wonky. So that's for two reasons. For one, there's too much cell activator, and for two, there's too much paint under there. And so it basically causes the cell activator to kind of become like a river. So I did try to fix it. My husband probably saved this painting because I was going to scrape it. But because the edges are kind of funky and like a third of the painting, I just kind of messed with them because I knew that they were going to look weird. I mean, I do have a lot of paint on here, so I was able to get a fairly decent composition, but man, was I just rusty. But then I also realized when I come in for the close-up, I think I say something about that too, that this is a 10-inch, and 10 inches is big for me. So need to be gracious with myself a little bit. But this, I literally poured one after this, and it was pretty, but it wasn't what I'm used to. And so I was like, when you're so excited to get to paint and haven't been able to do blooms in a minute, and you have a painting day that kind of is terrible, it takes the wind out of your sails a little bit. And so my husband was like, "Did you have fun?" I said, "Well, yes, except for everything kind of sucked." So I didn't want that. I also tried to break up the surface tension in the middle where there's too much white, and I may have tried too much, because now that I'm looking at it here, the composition before I mess with it is better. So, the things you learn along the way, but it's just wasted paint. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it's Sherwin-Williams, so it's, a bummer to waste that paint, but I kind of knew that this was not going to be the greatest bloom, so I just messed with the edges a lot. I don't normally do that. So, but the colors are so pretty that it might actually be very redeeming, in spite of everything. So we'll see. But so if it wasn't for like those two kind of naked areas, this one wouldn't have been too bad. Under resin, it's going to look amazing because the colors are amazing. And I realize that not all blooms are perfect, and expecting them to be is probably unreasonable. This is kind of where I think I mess up my center. But what I did from the first to the second bloom is I added a new batch of cell activator to my old cell activator. So it was thinner and fresher. I probably shouldn't have added it to the old one. I probably should have just mixed a new one and ditched the old one, but I didn't. So, and on the bloom I did after this, which will be in a different video, my center was a lot more like what I'm used to. This one doesn't look bad on camera, but up close it looked really wobbly and wonky to me. So one piece of advice I would give you, if you're doing fluid art of any kind, is sometimes when you're actually working on it, you're way too close to it, and you're going to notice things that bother you, and And sometimes you need to take a step back away from it before you decide that you're going to destroy it. Maybe you don't have somebody who's going to come in and rescue your paintings like my husband does sometimes. Like what I just did now kind of messed up the center. But sometimes you do need to step back and walk away for a second and look at it with fresh eyes, or you'll scrape everything. And sometimes someone will find beauty in something that you're making that even if it wasn't what you wanted. And a lot of people who appreciate your art don't know what you were going for like you do. So, you know, there's times where I have redone pieces because it wasn't what I had in mind, but most people don't know what you were going for and appreciate it anyway. So be gracious to yourself. All right, so here's our close-up. Looking at it now, it doesn't bother me as much. The center bothers me a little bit, but it's probably good that I listened to my husband. The colors are amazing. Before I forget, mark your calendars for Sunday, October 16th. There's a huge Colourarte autumn event. The collaboration starts with Leslie's channel, I think at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But there's a bunch of us, and there's going to be channel prizes and a grand prize and all of that, so you don't want to miss it. Also, check out the description box below for discount codes for color art, pixel paint designs, all that jazz. And thanks for watching. Not the most perfect, but I think it'll be okay under resin. And I'll share the one I did after this in a future video. But thanks for joining in on my little experiment in my difficult painting day. Appreciate you guys, and have a great day. Bye.